This is a Best Syndication News video production. On October 24th, 2007, we sat down and talked to 59th Assembly District Assemblyman Anthony Adams. We discussed our water shortage problems and solutions. Adams said that this solution will involve a collaborative effort between Northern and Southern California. We also discussed the wildfires that were sweeping through Southern California. I asked if there was a problem concerning the environmentalists and others who have their own agenda as opposed to the agenda of those living in the wilderness. Adams believes there may be accommodations made by all involved that helps provide for conservation and the rights of those living in rural areas. Although illegal immigration is primarily a federal concern, Adams believes there are actions the state of California can take to alleviate the flow of illegal immigrants. Although employer enforcement is imperative, Adams believes it is more important to secure the border. The assemblyperson talked about methods of identifying citizens as a way of combating illegal immigration and also protecting Californians against terrorists. When asked what issue is most important, Adams said illegal immigration. Here is that interview.
Nonetheless, I am Anthony Adams. I represent the 59th Assembly District, which includes the communities of San Bernardino County, Apple Valley, Hesperia, Summit Valley Road area, all that area down through the Summit Valley region. It goes up the mountains to Lake Arrowhead, which is currently burning, so we're very concerned about our communities there. Crestline down into San Bernardino, Highland, Redlands, the tip of Redlands, and Mentone, and then actually takes in LA County as well, where I pick up the communities of Claremont, Laverne, Glendora, Monrovia, Sierra Madre, San Dimas, Arcadia, all the way over to La Crescent on the other side of Pasadena. So a very expansive district covering both San Gabriel and the San Bernardino Mountains.
Okay. Well, let me get right to the first question. What got you interested in politics in the first place, and how did you get involved?
Well, I was actually working for myself, doing a little bit of work while I was going through college, and I was at church one day, and my pastor asked me, how things were going, how the education was coming, that kind of thing. And this was about 94, 95-ish. And I told him things were well. I was enjoying my degree, a political science major, but I wasn't actually committed to a particular profession. And I said I wasn't sure where I wanted to go. I just knew what I loved. And he said he had a friend of his named Bill Postmus, and Bill was actually working for a fellow named Keith Olber, who was the assemblyman at the time, in what was the old 34th Assembly District, when the entire district was the high desert. And so he said, why don't you go over there and chat with him and see if you want to possibly do something like that for a living. So I said, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Went over, chatted with Bill, and literally started interning right away. I did it for a few months, and during that time, I absolutely fell in love with the idea of public service. I just couldn't believe what a gratifying feeling it was to be that bridge between people who are upset with their government and the person who can actually solve those problems and return government back to them again, and give people that sense that their government actually is responsive. And it was a powerful, powerful feeling, and I was hooked. I wasn't sure I wanted to be elected, but I knew this is the kind of work I wanted to do. So that's how it all began.
This is after your degree and...
Actually, I was still pursuing my degree. I was still doing this. I hadn't finished, so in fact, I'd interned just for a couple months during the summer while we were on break from school, and then I actually left the office to go back and work and finish my college classes. And so during that time, I'd stay connected with the folks I met when I was interning, and I participated in a number of people's campaigns for local office and got involved on that side of it, and just had a remarkable time just running people's campaigns and helping them be successful and get into elective office, and just really try to change the character and the tenor and the tone of our communities, really try to return them back to a kind of an accountability-based council members. And so we did great work from Victorville and Apple Valley, Hesperia. We tried to do some work in Atlanta. We did work on college boards, school boards, water boards, and just really got actively involved. And then in 1999, I think that's right, 1999, I was working for an assembly candidate down the hill, and I got this call, and it was Bill Postmus, and he was contemplating a run for the county supervisor seat, and he called to ask if I would be interested in running the campaign for him. And of course, I thought that would be an exciting opportunity. It's always a lot of fun to run, especially when you're running up against an incumbent who he was, because it just creates a lot of interesting challenges. We were successful. We were able to get him into office. He brought me on as his district director, and I did that work for a while. Finished off doing some work down the hill as an analyst for the Board of Supervisors, and ultimately was promoted to the Director of Legislative Affairs for the County of San Bernardino, where I managed our legislative agenda both in Washington, D.C. and in Sacramento. And right after that, I was elected to the state legislature, and that's where I am today.
Okay. My next question involves water. Water is a major issue up here in the high desert. Is there any state plans for solving our water problems here?
Absolutely there are. The state has an incredibly vested interest in trying to preserve the quality of life that we've enjoyed, and to do that, we have to have a solid, stable water supply. Unfortunately, California has been beset with a number of issues that have really impacted our ability to effectively distribute water, not the least of which are drought conditions that we've been encountering for a number of years. We have large-scale environmental concerns that preclude us from doing a lot of the work that we would otherwise be inclined to do, whether it be at the Hetch Hetchy Dam or whether it be with the Bay Delta regions concerns with the fish and the smelt. We have incredible environmental problems that preclude us from doing a lot of what we need to do. The bottom line is what we have to do is we have to combine our efforts. In Northern California, we have to do comprehensive above-ground storage. That means building dams. And there is a huge movement, especially within the environmental community, that is absolutely resistant to the idea of building dams because of the way it affects the ecology of that area. But the reality of the matter is we cannot effectively provide water storage without that. The converse of that is in Southern California, we have to spend a tremendous amount of money on infrastructure for below ground storage, because what we have in Southern California is an ample supply of water coming in, but we don't have the resources to bank the water. So what happens is, by way of an example, is the Mojave Water Agency is our water master for this area. What happens is we have a certain allotment. That allotment is approximately 70,000 acre-feet of water per year. Now that serves our needs. We generally draw between 18 and 30,000 acre-feet from that allotment every year. But to do that, we have to pay for every acre-foot that we pull out of the State Water Project. And when you pull water out of the State Water Project water, it is incredibly expensive. So what we need to do is be able to pull that water out in times when the water is less expensive in non-drought years and bank that water, if you will. Put it underground into our aquifers, refilling them and basically recharging those aquifers. And that essentially is like a storage for us. It allows us to be able to draw those waters back up at a much, much greater price, and that is a reduced price, in a way that gives our people the ability to have instant access to the water that they need. By doing that, by providing that underground storage, we preserve the long-term stability of the region in terms of its water needs, and I think that is really the solution. There are many folks in the state who acknowledge that's the solution. Getting there is a more difficult task, but you better believe there's a plan.
The Mojave Water District or Agency, do they have percolation ponds yet, or I mean,
yes,
they already do?
Oh yeah, there's a number of things that we already do. We recharge the aquifers in a number of areas. We have them in what we call different zones. There's different zones all throughout the entire high desert area. We have zones in El Mirage, we have zones in Newberry Springs, we have zones in Hesperia. Of course, because we have one of, I think it's only two, north running rivers, and that is the Mojave River, and it's also underground in the vast majority of its places. We have a tremendous water source there that comes down, and we can help recharge that as well, because that feeds off into tributaries along the way. Now there are a number of alluvium plains that cause water to move in areas that you wouldn't suspect, that create challenges, and there are a number of what's essentially are geological barriers that make it difficult for us to deliver services to certain areas and recharge areas. And so we're doing a lot of work at the Mojave Water Agency to try to build the infrastructure to move that water to different parts of the entire high desert to really accommodate the needs of all of its residents.
Where are the percolation ponds?
The percolation ponds, you're going to have to ask Kirby Brill. I don't know exactly where they're at.
Because I was under the impression that there weren't any yet, and
That's
we were
not my
trying to get those.
No, I think Kirby could speak more to that than I can. Oh, sorry for your viewers who don't know. Kirby Brill is the general manager of Mojave Water Agency.
Okay. This has been a Best Syndication video production.